If a Pisces is arguing with you, this isn't a disagreement anymore. It's a test you didn't know you were taking. Most people never realize when it starts. They think it's just another conversation, another misunderstanding, another emotional exchange. But for Pisces, the moment they decide to argue, something irreversible is already happening. Because Pisces don't argue to win. They argue to find out who's being unreasonable. And once that answer becomes clear, the argument is already over, even if the conversation hasn't ended yet. People love to say Pisces hate conflict, that they're too sensitive, too emotional, too passive to stand their ground. That assumption is exactly why so many people lose when they argue with them. Pisces don't avoid arguments because they're afraid. They avoid arguments because most people argue for the wrong reasons. Ego, control, validation, the need to be right, loudly. Pisces don't care about any of that. They care about one thing: whether reality is being respected. And the moment reality starts getting bent, they pay attention. Here's what usually happens. You think you're debating a Pisces, but you're not. You're being observed. Pisces listen longer than feels comfortable. They let you talk past the point where most people would interrupt. They let you repeat yourself. They let you contradict yourself. Not because they agree, because they're collecting patterns. They notice when your tone shifts. They feel when your words stop being about truth and start being about self-protection. They notice when logic disappears and emotion steps in to cover it. And they don't stop you. That's the mistake most people make. They think silence means weakness. With Pisces, silence means calibration. They're not deciding how to respond. They're deciding who they're dealing with. And this is the first mini-climax most people miss. Because while you think the argument hasn't really started yet, Pisces are already deciding how much access you'll have to them afterward. Pisces don't jump into arguments emotionally. If they're speaking, it's because restraint has already failed. They tried understanding. They tried patience. They tried letting it go. But Pisces have one absolute limit: distorted reality. The moment someone starts twisting facts, rewriting history, or using emotion to escape accountability, that's when Pisces step forward. Quietly, precisely, without theatrics. And this is where the dynamic shifts. Pisces don't fight the surface of what you're saying. They go straight for the structure underneath it. They don't say, "You're wrong." They say, "Help me understand how that makes sense." That question is dangerous, because if it does make sense, Pisces will accept it. They're not attached to winning. But if it doesn't, they won't fill the silence for you. They let you hear yourself. And that's when people start to feel uneasy. Because arguing with Pisces doesn't feel like combat. It feels like exposure. They don't raise their voice when you raise yours. They don't mirror aggression. They don't match intensity. They pause. And in that pause, your words echo back at you. You hear the inconsistency you didn't notice before. You feel the insecurity you were covering with confidence. You realize you're explaining more, talking faster, pushing harder. And Pisces are still calm. That's when people start losing control of the argument. Not because Pisces attacked them, but because Pisces didn't. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people don't want clarity in an argument. They want relief. They want the tension to end with them feeling justified. Pisces don't offer that. They offer clarity. And clarity doesn't comfort ego, it challenges it. This is why people walk away from arguments with Pisces feeling strange. Not angry, not victorious, just unsettled. They say things like, "I don't know why, but that conversation stuck with me." It's because you weren't defeated. You were understood. And being understood when you're not being honest with yourself is deeply uncomfortable. Now here's the point most people never realize. And this is the moment where retention spikes. Because this is where the argument truly ends. Pisces don't argue to resolve the issue. They argue to assess the person. Once Pisces realize someone isn't interested in truth, only control, image, or winning, they disengage. Not dramatically, not angrily. They simply stop investing. And this is the point of no return. Because when a Pisces stops arguing, it doesn't mean you won. It means the conversation no longer matters enough to continue. Pisces are perfectly capable of continuing an argument. They just choose not to. Because at that moment, the argument has already served its purpose. They know who you are under pressure. Can you listen without defending? Can you admit contradiction without collapsing? Can you stay grounded when your ego is challenged? If the answer is no, Pisces adjust. They don't announce it. They don't explain it. They don't seek closure. They simply recalibrate how much emotional access you get. That's why after certain arguments, Pisces become distant. Not cold, not cruel, clear. They don't bring it up again. They don't reopen the topic. They don't try to fix you. They already saw what they needed to see. And this is where most people misunderstand Pisces the most. They think Pisces avoid confrontation. In reality, Pisces avoid wasted truth. They don't fear conflict. They fear conversations that go nowhere. They would rather walk away misunderstood than stay in a dynamic built on distortion. They would rather be silent than participate in emotional theater. And that's why arguing with a Pisces feels different. Because you're not fighting for dominance. You're being evaluated. Not morally, not judgmentally, psychologically. Pisces aren't asking, "Can I win against you?" They're asking, "Can I trust your perception of reality?" And once that question is answered, the argument no longer needs to exist. So if you've ever argued with a Pisces and felt like something shifted afterward, it probably did. Not because they punished you, not because they held a grudge, but because in that moment, you showed them exactly who you are. When things stop being comfortable, and Pisces never forget that. If this felt uncomfortably accurate, you're not alone. If you've ever wondered why a Pisces went quiet after an argument, now you know. If this gave you clarity, or made you rethink a past conversation, go ahead and like the video. Share it with someone who thinks winning arguments matters more than understanding reality. And subscribe, because we don't talk about astrology as personality traits here. We talk about it as psychological patterns. And Pisces? They see those patterns long before anyone starts arguing about them.